Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our show. We're coming to you live on tape from the Sandwich Studio in Oceanside, California. My name is Jack Tunney, and it's September 17th, 2020. We have a great show for you today. We'll be talking about the few of the largest stories of this week in the first bite. Then, we'll break down the issues of the most prominent in our home state of California, before giving you the much-needed relief of the milk. That being said, we hope you enjoy the show. Go like and subscribe to see more. Now, without further ado, in association with SitRep Media, the hosts of the PB&J Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the PB&J Podcast. My name's Peter Whitehead.
And my name is Brandon Blackmon. And we're going to start with the first bite. I'm going to do a story on the Georgia voter purge.
The second.
So most people probably have heard about Brian Kemp, who won the governor race in 2018. Basically, he used to be the Secretary of State. So controversially, in 2018, there was almost like 300,000 people purged from the voter rolls, as it's called. And basically, they defended it, saying that they're just doing list maintenance, voter maintenance, clearing out people who never vote or, dead people. That's what they always argue it as. But the problem is that they're doing it again this year. So the number of registered voters in Georgia shrunk by 300,000 again. And it was contested, but the court actually sanctioned it and defended it. The judge saying that proper list maintenance is not only required by longstanding laws, but it's also important to maintaining the integrity of a smooth functioning election. So the judges are defending the, removal of people's rights just because they skipped one election or skipped two elections. Mm-hmm. What they're doing is they'll send an address, or they'll send like a voter confirmation, just making sure that the person who lives there still lives there, that kind of thing. But that can really look like junk mail to a lot of people. So you might not respond to it because, why would you? And they're using that as an excuse to take people off of the voter registration. And also not only in Georgia, too, which is crazy. It also happened in Wisconsin this last Friday. A judge ordered the state to remove up to 234,000 people from the registered voter list because a group filed a lawsuit basically under the same kind of pretenses of we sent these voter registration, making sure that they still live there. And it was, sanctioned by the election board of the state. But it's really, I don't know. To me, it seems unconstitutional to, leave something in the mail, and if they don't respond to it, now you can't vote. And I'm not going to tell you about that ever.
Yeah, I mean, the real problem is that, like, why do we need to do voter? So you said like they claim like, oh, people have died, people have moved, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like, what are you actually preventing by doing the purges? Like, what is the thing that you are guarding against by doing the purges?
Stopping like lazy voters, I guess. There's no real, reason for it. It's to disenfranchise voters again, Mm-hmm. These voters already maybe skipped an election or something. And now you're going to take their rights away even further? Like, right. It's just backwards. So that's what's going on in Georgia. Like, the fact that the Secretary of State, Brian Kemp, was able to, run his own election for governor, and there was these obvious, like, mishandlings, it's disgusting. And there was no one able to stop it.
Well, yeah, because he's the guy in charge, right? So if he says it's, this election, the closer and closer we get to this election, like I'm starting to feel how messy it's gonna be. Yeah. And it's these are the, as much as this is a huge issue, these are the minor issues in this election. Yeah. Like this voter purging and. Like, these are the minor issues compared to, like, what is happening, like nationwide.
They've probably always done voter purges,
Yeah.
Like, it's not a new issue. We've got new issues.
New.
Speaking of new issues like Trump, he recently did a town hall. He did a town hall on ABC. I feel like I didn't know it was happening. I just turned on my TV, and I just saw madness. I saw mayhem. And
fire and fury.
We want to show you a clip of the absolute madness and just propaganda and nonsense, and I've got a lot of words.
Just lie straight to this person's face. Why don't you?
Brought to fruition, be removed. No.
Please stop and let me finish my question, sir.
Rewind it.
I want to know what it is that
Tunney,
you're going to
rewind it
do
to
to the copay, and should pre-existing conditions which Obamacare brought to fruition be removed?
No.
Please stop and let me finish my question,
said
sir.
no,
I want to know
like,
what it
dude.
is that you're going to do
Are you
to
5?
assure that people like me who work
Is he even
hard,
listening anymore?
we do everything we're supposed to do, can stay insured. It's not my fault that I was
He's at
born
least
with this
making eye
disease.
contact.
So, first of all, I hope you are taken seriously. I hope you are. And we are not going to hurt anything having to do with pre-existing conditions. We're not going to hurt pre-existing
number 1.
conditions. And in fact, just the opposite.
Line number
If
2.
you look at what they want to do, where they have socialized medicine,
Line number
they
3.
will get rid of pre-existing
Biden?
conditions. If they go into Medicare for All, which is socialized medicine, and you can forget about your doctors and your plans, just like you could forget under President Obama.
Joe Biden has ran against Medicare for All in the primaries, but much more
fact check.
importantly, Obamacare guaranteed people with pre-existing conditions could buy insurance, guaranteed they could buy it at the
like the
same
head nod,
price as
too.
everyone else, guaranteed
Back
a
to
package of
reality.
essential benefits, guaranteed that insurance companies couldn't put a lifetime limit on those benefits. You
He's
fought
like-
to
he's like,
repeal
"Next question,
Obamacare.
please."
You are arguing.
Well, I essentially did,
You are.
Oh! I essentially did.
He says, so Trump says, I've been defending pre-existing conditions, and aren't I, the best? And the host, what's his name? Stephanopoulos.
Yeah, George Stephanopoulos.
George Stephanopoulos. He's like, actually, Obamacare did all this, and you revoked Obamacare. And then he says, yes.
Yeah, I did that.
Yes, I did that. Follow my hands? You see the, that doesn't make any
There's a
sense.
disconnect here.
There is no logical sense to that.
No, I mean, but that's the Trump classic is, just divert and talk in circles until, the next question is asked. Like, that's what he did in the debates. That's what he'll do again in the debates. It's
Talking in circles.
his methodology. He just eats up the time, and you won't get a straight answer out of him.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
And that was just one clip.
And that I think that town hall too. So I watched that town hall in its entirety. I think that it, in some ways, paves the way for what the debates will look like. What Trump in the debates will look like. I think. I mean, he doesn't appear to be very prepared.
He said
Like-
he did something that he didn't do, and then went on to say he did the opposite of it.
Yeah. So I mean, if that's the kind of game he's going to bring into the debates, like
That doesn't make
Biden's
sense.
going to swamp him. Biden's been preparing for months for these debates.
He doesn't have to be like good.
Yeah.
He just has
he
to
just
be
has to
okay.
be like honest and answer the question actually instead of diverting, and then he'll look leagues better than Trump in
I
the
can't
debate.
wait.
Yeah, I'm excited for those. They're coming up, aren't they? It's like pretty soon. We should have that
There hasn't been like an
information.
official, date, I don't think. But
Yeah.
so that's politics. But we also got some updates on kind of the protest movement, specifically regarding Breonna Taylor and her tragic, untimely death. So as most people probably know, there was a settlement that was paid out by the city of Louisville, which is honestly awesome. It was in the civil suit, not in the criminal case, in the civil lawsuit. $12 million were paid out by the city of Louisville to the family directly. And I think it's important to note that it's the city of Louisville and not the actual Louisville PD.
So they're not taking responsibility still.
They're not taking direct responsibility. And also, some of these police departments have direct lawsuit budgets.
Yeah.
So they'll have a few 100,000 or whatever set aside for this exact purpose. So the fact that even that exists and we didn't take from the budget of the police to do that, like it's, backwards.
Yeah, just took straight out of the taxpayer money that the city would use for other things. I'm glad that they got paid though. I'm
yeah.
glad that there's like some form of this is not full justice,
No.
right?
Honestly, in
But-
America though, like
Yeah,
This is what we get.
This is what a check in the dark, right?
I've never heard that.
Yeah, no, I just came up with it just now.
So the
It's a Peter Whitehead original.
Benjamin Crump, famous lawyer right now, civil rights activist. He is representing the family, and he said that this case actually sets a precedent for Black people, because when police kill us, like you said, we expect full justice. We expect justice for the civil rights that you took from this human being. And then we expect full justice from this criminal justice system. Mm-hmm. So I really fully agree with that. Money is amazing, but we need to not only set a civil precedent, but a criminal legal precedent.
Yeah.
They've also put some reforms in the settlement, though, which is interesting because I also think that means that they won't do anything else afterwards, and this won't be anything that can actually make them do anything, but we'll see. But apparently they have started a housing credit program, so cops will be not only encouraged but like helped in finding housing options within the community, and they'll also be encouraged to do volunteer work with the community and like compensated for it.
Baby steps, but we're going the right direction.
Yeah, I think getting the cops to actually live where they police is just an easy step to making it feel more like a home, making it feel like my neighborhood, not like I'm patrolling the criminals.
Right. Yeah.
It's not full justice, but honestly, like, what more can we ask for from America? Like,
yeah, especially in its current state.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just money.
Also, I think it's interesting that the largest settlement previously paid out by Louisville was $8.5 million to a man who was falsely imprisoned for 9 years.
Damn.
So.
And that was 8 years ago they paid that? That was
in 2012, yeah. So, just a precedent. I think that's so important to see the scale because.
Yeah, and it'll keep going down this line, I hope.
We don't usually get to set the precedent.
If Martin Luther King is right, and even though that the moral arc of the universe is long, it does bend towards justice. So hopefully we will see more actions such as this.
You love that quote.
I do love that quote. I quote that all the time. I think that's the first time on the pod, though.
Not
I hope.
Not
the last. Yeah. Okay. So keeping along the same vein of police and what's going on with that, there was a situation with the LA Sheriff's Department where they arrested a reporter, and this was around the situation where the two police officers were killed or were shot at.
And there was a protest at the hospital.
Yeah, there was a protest at the hospital, and the police were ordered to disperse said protest. So they used force to do it, and then they were following one man who had like made a run for it.
Oh, really?
And they got him, and this woman who, and we're gonna play the video pretty soon here, but this woman was just recording the incident of the police arresting this particular protester, and they turned on her. So what we're playing is a video, an angle from across the street, watching what like unfolded. Okay, so they collapse on her here, right? Yeah, they're throwing her around, toss her to the ground. And she's yelling that she's pressed. She's yelling her organization, screaming and crying. They're hurting her.
I need 8 dudes.
Yeah, this is like not like a single person. She's yelling the name of her organization that she's with, and she's pressed. And they actually detained her, arrested her. You can stop it. Yeah, so they detained her and arrested her, and held her on charges and stuff. She has since been released, but
all she was doing was sitting there and recording and taking note. She wasn't a radical leftist.
Yeah, she wasn't even saying anything.
She wasn't destroying
property. She was
property.
just recording. And they stepped on her phone, and it's like a whole thing. So I'm just gonna say this as a disclaimer: in a country that values freedom of speech, freedom of the press, this type of thing happening, this is what happens in authoritarian dictatorships. This is what happens to journalists in Russia who are video recording police violence and things like that. This should concern everyone, even if you think that what the media is doing is bad and dishonest and there's a lot of sensationalism with it, that kind of thing. I understand that point. This kind of harassment to this level, from a state force, like on a member of the press, it should not happen. It's terrible and it should not happen.
They want to destroy the information that is being spread. They want to
Yeah,
destroy her
yeah,
perspective.
you're gonna step on the phone
Like-
that she's like recording with, like,
Yeah, you know.
what is going on with that? So yeah, clearly
It
like
just-
a misstep by the LASD, the sheriff's department there.
It's indefensible because, like, even if they did nothing wrong, whatever, like, the fact that they're destroying the cameras and attacking reporters, it makes it like, okay, what are you trying to hide?
Yeah,
What happened that we can't see now because you destroyed the camera?
yeah. Yeah.
Authoritarianism.
So yeah, I mean, there's some footage from her directly from her perspective, but there's not like I didn't want to show it because it's
It's
not a great angle. They don't show the actual arrest of her, you know, because the phone goes flying, like it goes somewhere else, and so yeah, I just wanted to put that one in there to follow up because I mean we still have a long fight ahead of us. As much as the stuff that happened in Louisville is good, still a long fight.
There's other fights.
Yes, other fights and long fights. So, and then from that, we wanted to talk about Hurricane Sally real quick. It's a big storm. It made landfall close to the Gulf Shores in Alabama at like 5 a.m. ish. And that's like 30 miles, give or take, from Pensacola, Florida, just to like give you an understanding of what this area is. There's about 1 million people that live in that area, and it was severely flooded. One is dead. Hundreds had to be hella rescued, like with helicopters come in from the National Guard and the Red Cross.
People trapped and stranded out there.
Yeah.
Waiting.
And I wanted to, we talked a lot about the hurricanes in the last episode, so I wanted to make this pretty brief. I'm just going to kind of say what I said last time, which is this is going to continue to happen. These climate disasters, be it the fires on the West Coast, which we'll talk a little bit more later, and these hurricanes and other such climate disasters will continue to happen, and they will continue to get worse unless something is done about the climate.
Yeah, five hurricanes or tropical storms forming in the Atlantic Ocean at one point in time. Like, that's rare. Like,
Extremely rare.
Like, I'm from the East Coast. I asked my family, asked my grandma. Like, yeah, they've never seen that. Like,
Yeah.
it's wild. It seems like it's sensationalist when we say it, but like, this stuff is rare and it's happening weekly.
Mm-hmm.
These stories.
Yeah, these brand new climate disasters, record-breaking climate disasters are happening, on the regular now, especially, after the summer, the hot summer months and such. So for our last story in the milk, or the first bite, geez, you can tell we're not fully on it today, but
Milk!
I wanted to talk quickly about Measure L. This is a local story for those of you who are outside of the local jurisdiction. I'm sorry. But Measure L is an Oceanside thing. It's a piece that's going to the ballots.
Bonsall area, the 76.
Yeah. So, but essentially, what's going to happen is they want to create an 88-acre working farm, which is the size of 67 football fields. They want to build a new fire station. They want to establish agricultural educational centers for young children to learn about farming, the value of agriculture. They're creating 10 miles of public hiking and biking trails at no cost to taxpayers.
Yeah, because it's what it is that it's a private company is trying to build this. So the measure is actually, should the government allow the private company to build it? That's why it's no cost to taxpayers.
Yes. And then they also said this company said that they were going to provide $7.5 million to the local government to widen North River Road and College Bridge, which is like historically very narrow and historically a lot of traffic, a lot of problems with congestion in that area. So
yeah, I don't live anywhere near there, but I see it pretty often, and there's always traffic. So when I first heard about this, I was not, very excited to the idea of them building this massive thing there. But when you think about all the jobs, all the opportunities, all of the, they're also building homes.
plus just all the food, man. I mean, locally sourced grown
Oceanside pick, that's jobs. That's
jobs.
Freaking tax income. Like, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be urban sprawl. Like, that's what I've been seeing, like, vote no on L. No on the urban sprawl idea of it, but it's like, we can't just not build anymore, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. we got to do something with the land, and I think food is probably the best. So I mean, I'm not sure. I have to do a little bit more research onto it, but I'm thinking that I'm going to be voting yes on this. I think that it's a good idea to get locally sourced food and such for our markets and things and to ingest. But that wraps up our first bite. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be getting into the sandwich now, which is talking about the great state of California, the Golden State. The
And
Golden Shores.
Our elections and our propositions and what we've got up on the ballot this November.
Mm-hmm. So let's jump right into that. Let's talk about the propositions. We're gonna have Brandon break down
I'll lead
proposition,
lead the way.
piece by piece, so that we have an
Yeah.
understanding of what's happening here. Because a lot of people, they don't pay attention to these propositions. It's hard for them.
Or they don't hear about it till the week before.
Right.
So I'll try to, go through some of the more simple ones faster, but a lot of them are a little more nuanced. So Prop 14 is the first one. We've got Prop 14 through 25 today, or November. But Prop 14 is actually about stem cell research. I'm sure many people have heard about stem cell research. So basically the bill is suggesting that, or the proposition is suggesting that the California taxpayers should continue to fund state-funded stem cell research. The reason that we have state-funded stem cell research is actually because of the George W. Bush administration. He and the evangelical right, I'll call him, led this campaign against stem cell research because,
Playing the role of God.
baby fetuses, isn't that what stem cells from?
Yes.
Or something like that?
There's a whole bunch of controversial stuff about stem cell.
Yeah, so there was like a lot of controversy.
But some of the medical applications for stem cells is completely unhuman.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Life-changing.
All sorts of
it's like paralyzed
saving stuff.
from the neck down. I can walk again.
Yes.
Yeah, regenerative kind of thing. So this bill actually is the proposition. Isn't actually suggesting, is stem cell research good? Is it bad? Should we never do it again? Should we do a lot more? The thing is just that the federal government had banned it at one point, but it's no longer banned for the federal government to provide funding for these companies. So it's just asking, do you think that California should give state funds to continue providing for these companies?
Yeah. It's basically like an opinion prop.
Yeah. Like,
That's cool.
I mean, personally, I'm like, okay, we could save a little money, but also we could continue doing what we've been doing. So, I mean, I honestly don't have a full opinion on that one, but it's really up to
Yeah,
the people.
I'm gonna try my very best not to like endorse these one way or the other unless they're like super obvious to me, because I don't want to misinform people and that kind of thing. So unless it's super clear cut, I'm not gonna try to endorse this on one side or the other.
I would say Prop 15 is a little more iffy, but I feel like there's a pretty clear cut answer.
Mm-hmm.
So Prop 15 considers commercial and industrial zoning and changing how it's taxed. So right now, residential, commercial, industrial are all taxed under the same structure. And what this bill is considering is a split roll kind of deal. Basically what that means is that commercial and industrial, big industries, think Disneyland, think these massive oil companies, these huge stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They would basically be charged taxes based on their market value, changing yearly rather than being taxed on the purchase value of the land. And when it's taxed on the purchase value, it increases like 2% every year. But what this suggests is that, say you're Disney and your stock is blowing up crazy. Your land is the most valuable place, in Anaheim or whatever.
Oh, for sure. The most valuable place in Anaheim.
There's a lot of tax dollars there just waiting to be captured, for real. And the fact that things aren't being taxed on market value, like, I thought that everything was.
Yeah.
So I think it should be, personally.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with that.
Also, because it doesn't affect small businesses, it's not looking for the 50-employee business. It's not looking for
it's these big
one
like
location,
corporate
offices, that kind of
like
idea.
Campuses, that kind of thing.
Campuses, probably. I don't know. Is campus commercial?
Maybe.
Also, it's interesting this bill is directly going to use this money to give to our firefighters and to fight wildfires. This bill is called, it has wildfire in the name, and, not all of this money is going directly to it, but
Proposition.
I've been saying Bill.
Yes.
What's that? What's the song called? A Bill. I'm only a Bill.
Oh, right. Yeah, Bill on Capitol Hill. That's that Schoolhouse Rock, right?
Yes. Okay. Keeping it
we
serious.
all watch those.
Prop 16 is going to rescind a ban, which is the ban is Proposition 209. It's from the 90s, I think. It's going to rescind a ban on affirmative action. So California actually has a ban on affirmative action. A lot of states do, because just the idea that including more black people by law is inherently discrimination against non-black people or minorities.
Right.
So for a long time, people have banned affirmative action because they're saying it's discrimination. Affirmative action has been on the California ballot so many times. It's come back.
Yeah, it was on in 16. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember it.
It keeps getting voted down, which is like it's crazy because it is not discrimination by definition. Because when you don't know much about it, it does seem like, wait, y'all are gonna like take seats away from someone who might have had better grades to put in someone who is this color? What? But when you think about, there's so many stories that like were covered in like that taught me so much about affirmative action. Let's look. So in 1979, so this is before a lot of actual affirmative action laws have been put in place and actually tried. In 1979, women represented only 4% of the entry-level officers in the San Francisco Police Department. 4%. Women
Minimal.
Women are 50%, just by the way.
Yes. Well, a little bit more than 50 even, right? I think they're like 51 or something
Yeah,
of
I see some
the human
discrepancies.
population.
That's a discrepancy. By 1985, under an affirmative action plan ordered in a case by the DOJ, because it sued the city, because they were challenging the affirmative action. They were sued because they were challenging the affirmative action. That's where this information came out. By 1985, the number of women in the entry class had risen to 175, which is 14% of the police force. So affirmative action had a direct, obvious, clear role in allowing more women to not only be able to, but feel comfortable being in this environment where it had been so long
Yeah, like a gentleman's club.
only men.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only does that, I think it's interesting because it's a police department, but there's also these trade unions who followed the same kind of laws with minorities and skilled workers versus unskilled workers. And just this kind of policy of we once had 4% and now we have 14%. That's a drastic difference no matter what you say. But also affirmative action comes into play in our education system, our universities, when so many minority students or students from poor areas just don't have the option or don't have the guidance to believe in themselves and believe that they can go to these universities. But also their schools don't provide like the educational tools, so
Definitely.
they never really like.
Well, that and standardized testing as well, right? Like you have to pay money just to take the standardized test.
Or test prep.
Yeah, or test prep. Yeah, if you want to do
Specifically.
good on it, you know. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of barriers
There's
to
general
entry.
inequalities that exist within this society.
Yes.
And some people would rather work towards making those inequalities a little easier for people. So one of the first cases that addressed the education affirmative action was the 1978 Bakke versus the University of California.
Okay.
Bakke. Bake. But basically, the University of California, Davis had basically set an exact quota that 16 minority students who were qualified, who met the qualifications. Basically, they set aside 16 exact places for these students.
I mean, what do you feel about like exact quotas though? Like, is that?
What's wrong with it?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like
It
it's like oh well, I will have a date night with you one night of the month, right? Like if there's like a quota, I don't know. I
Sure.
feel adverse to quotas in that
Yeah.
way, but like
personally, it's like, why can't we just have like not quotas for everybody, but see, I do think an exact number is weird because it's like, oh no, we have to make sure we get one more black person. Oh, they got a 2.5. It's okay. 2.5 GPA, let them in anyway. See, I think that could be weird. There is something weird about that.
Yes.
I think percentages, ratios.
Yeah, I vibe with much more than like, there has to be, what was the number? 16 available places for qualified minorities.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's like.
It's like, wait, I wish I was a minority. You know, like people shouldn't have to feel like that. I really do feel bad for people who say like, I hate being white right now. Like it shouldn't be that. I feel like everybody should just.
It's not that bad being white right now.
Yeah.
I have to let you know.
Hey, don't say that. But
no, but look. I'm a white dude, and I have privileges, and I've never been arrested by the police, even though perhaps there were some instances when I should have been, and all sorts of things like that, right? Like people listen to me more in a room because I'm loud and I'm white, and like it's not bad. There's some of these things, sure, but when you take into account
as the other side,
when you take into account like generational poverty, generational trauma, like white people didn't really go through that. Like,
I mean, also we got the woman at the beginning talking about her healthcare troubles, like she's saying she doesn't feel respected by healthcare professionals who see her as someone who's going overboard. Like that's such a common stereotype that they put on us.
Yes,
not that we like exert. So it's like. Just a mess, and I feel like, affirmative action is one of the only ways to force people to begin.
Yeah.
Also, someone similarly agreed with that by the name of Richard Nixon.
You like dick.
In 1969.
That's it. That was his campaign slogan. You don't know that?
His campaign slogan was 69 dick?
No, his campaign slogan was "We like dick" because he was Dwight D. Eisenhower's vice president, and Dwight D. Eisenhower's campaign slogan was "We like Ike," because that was his nickname was Ike. So he was trying to like play off that, but his name is Richard, so therefore Dick, and that was the camp.
I would like to keep this podcast as PG as possible.
It's his name. It's not a.
They released
Dick Nixon.
They released an actual guide on affirmative action, and in the guide they said that since September of '69, this administration has recognized that goals and timetables are actually a proper means for helping to implement the nation's commitment to equal employment.
The summer of '69.
Goals and time. I don't know what that is. Goals and timetables. So even we were saying like ratios.
None of my shit is landing on Brandon right now.
I'm trying to get through this.
Go. Keep pushing.
No, I'm chilling. But I'm trying to read this quote here.
Oh.
And you singing songs.
I'm so sorry.
But yeah, that's what we're saying, that ratios and goals, timetables, not exactly. You need 5 people right now. You need 2 people, like 10 people next year, 15.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one example that the trade union had to train 50% of their new trainees had to be black.
Okay.
Until their union ratio equaled like the ratio of black workers in the entire industry. So it was like something like 29% or something. But I feel like that is really, really amazing. Like,
Yeah, just increase the amount that you're hiring.
Because it's not that we're like picking these people over other people. It's that we're just training everybody more. Yeah. We're training more. Uh-huh. So I've learned a lot about affirmative action recently, and I really do think it is something that needs to be implemented countrywide because it's simple. It's not forcing anybody to do anything that shouldn't already be being done.
All right, you convinced me. I'm gonna
diversity.
Vote yes on this prop.
Simple diversity stuff. Prop 17 and 18, I think, kind of go in the same vein of voting rights for.
I like these. These ones are good.
Our lovely citizens of California. So, Prop 18 gives the 17-year-olds who have their birthday
after November, but before the people are sworn in. Is that what it was?
Is it after or yeah? I think it's after, but before they're sworn in.
Yeah. So like the president is sworn in on January 25th. So if you were born in that time period between what the election day this time is November 3rd. So if you're born, November 4th all the way through January 24th, you'll be able to vote even if you're 17.
But also you'll be able to vote in the primaries, any
Yes.
special elections, and you have to think like that's a large age group. Like those people have jobs. They probably, some of them maybe live alone. Some of them are self-sufficient. So people, they should have the right to vote. They're, almost as politically aware as I am. Like it's, as long as we help them become.
Yeah.
But also.
That's why you watch this podcast, to become aware of what you're voting on.
Prop 17, I went in order. I went out of order because how I set that up. But
They should have switched these, because prop 17-year-olds getting the vote on Prop 18 is like. Oh, I know that it's like the order, but it's not.
It's lit. So Prop 17 is the right for people who are on parole, so they can vote. Criminals who have been let out, who are still on parole, they will be allowed to vote. These people will also be allowed to run for office.
How do you feel about that?
I think that's awesome. I think that people should be allowed to vote if they're in prison.
So that was I can't remember who said it, but that was a recent thing that stood out to me when I was watching, just like the news cycle or whatever. Somebody was saying that if being incarcerated means that your vote will be stripped away, an institution has a reason now to incarcerate people at higher levels, because if that means that your vote is going to be taken away, I mean, I think you can look at the war on drugs from that perspective.
I mean, that's literally what they said, right?
Yeah, it's like if you incarcerate these people, we take away their civil liberties, and now they're not actually a voting bloc.
Yeah.
And in the war on drugs, black people and Latinos were disproportionately.
Was that Nixon or Reagan?
Nixon.
Yeah. Okay. More Nixon quotes. He
Yes.
said, didn't he literally say we're gonna chase down the blacks and the hippies?
All that
literally.
stuff. Yeah, because they were one of the main things that was running adverse to the Republican Party in that time period was minority voters and the white liberals, the hippies.
Yeah. It was a progressive movement we have today.
So they targeted those people specifically with marijuana, with crack cocaine, with the criminalization of those kinds of drugs, the hyper criminalization of those kinds of drugs, I should say.
Yeah. So I don't think that people's mistakes should make them less of a citizen.
Yeah.
Honestly, even murderers.
Wow.
Because are they not still people? Are they not still citizens? Maybe if they're never getting out of jail, maybe if they're in there for life, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I wonder where the line actually is. I'd have to do some moral
line
conundrum on that. Because I think these people with nonviolent drug felonies, they should definitely be able to vote later in their life,
What if we have 1 million murderers in jail and they all vote to free all murderers?
Yeah, as if any politician is going to run on that platform.
Yeah, okay. Prop 19 is a little complicated. Have you ever seen I should ask you before, but have you ever seen The Big Lebowski?
Yes.
Is there something about inheriting a house or something? Or a house or inheriting property or something like that?
There is an inheritance piece of that, I suppose, because there's a young mistress and she wants her husband's money, and she kidnaps herself. She kidnapped herself, dude.
Oh, I haven't seen it. So Prop 19.
Spoiler warning.
Prop 19 actually involves a new tax, or it's one of those we're gonna rescind something or approve it. So basically, it's inheritance of property. It's basically a tax loophole. So basically, this new bill, it was on the ballot. Oh fuck! For the fans, it's the inside joke. So I'm saying bill now forever.
Here we go again.
So this proposition was on the ballot in 2018, and it's being kind of championed by real estate investors and lobbyists of rich people. Because basically this bill offers people the option to move their taxes from an old house, and if they buy a new house, they can take the tax from the purchase value of their old house. and put it on their new $1 million house. Because why should homeowners have to pay crazy taxes on their nice house? But also,
this isn't just like your bias. Like, this is actually what this shit says.
this is literally what it is. But also, say you have a $1 million mansion on the beach, Santa Monica, amazing view, multi-million dollars, and you're from the 60s, you're a granddad, and you pass it down to me.
Uh-huh.
I would be paying 1960 taxes on
that
a
house.
2020, skyrocket land value.
Yeah. That's crazy. It'll get voted down again. It'll get voted down again.
Insane. It was voted down last time, so I don't expect it to pass again. But the fact that it's even on there again, like what? But yeah, that's literally what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Californians wonder where their money is.
It's sitting in homes.
Yeah, property value, man.
I mean, it's not that I'm... we were like, we're not going to be biased. Here's my bias. I'm not a staunch liberal or anything, but... Yeah, we need a percentage. Like, they're like...
Am
that
I wearing
money's
the same
sitting
shirt?
there. You wore that last time?
I think I wore this last time.
You did wear it last time.
Wow, that's upsetting.
You look good anyway.
Yeah, I just looked up and I saw the thing, and I was doing the Joe Biden, and I remembered that you said just imagine Joe Biden in the blue with me in the red in the back. I'm sorry. Continue with what you're saying. That was a total tangent.
But yeah, inheritance of property, like value. That is a bad bill. I'm voting no on that because the bill is bringing this tax law into effect. So it's yes or no if you want that new tax law. Okay, because I feel like it's always confusing if it's yes if I want it or no if I don't. Like sometimes it can get confusing. Prop 20 has to do with criminal rights. A lot of new clarifications, I guess, definitions of laws. Mm-hmm. Because I saw this crazy ad of Republicans talking about California, saying that, and what they're saying is true, but I'll explain. In California, they're like running on this in their political advertisement. In California, domestic violence is not a violent crime. Liberals, the Californians, no. See, the problem with that is that it literally wasn't considered a violent crime as in, a murder, as in, violent crimes, because it's, a section of a crime. So basically this new proposition.
Good job, Brandon. You caught yourself.
I was like, bill, law, proposition. It doubles the list of violent crime to 51. And see, a lot of these crimes to us would already be considered violent. So really what it is just kind of
a reclassification, an extra threat, like don't do this because now it's even extra time. Yes. Domestic violence being one of those crimes. Good.
There's also like mayhem, which we looked into, which is funny. Not funny, but
no, I actually didn't know what that meant, and then now we got to say it because
we thought we were like mayhem. Oh, that must just mean like rioting or something.
Yeah, like running around. Right? No, it's if you like remove a part of a person's body, that is considered mayhem. So
yeah, so it's not anything like pretty like insane. Like if you break a window, it's violent. Like some Bill Barr level. But there's also some
sedition.
Some new wobbler crimes. So basically, I think the wobbler crimes actually do have to do with kind of calming the protests, because certain laws like arson or breaking cars or firearm theft, even things like credit card fraud, will now be considered either they can wobble from misdemeanor or felony, so they can go back and forth.
So it's up to the prosecutor then.
It's up to the prosecutor, and which means if you're a repeat offender or you extremely went criminal, you can get charged with a felony for something that used to be a misdemeanor. Mm-hmm. Things like credit card fraud or breaking vehicles. Also,
interesting.
With these misdemeanors, the third and most controversial, I guess, would be their new way to keep track of people who are arrested for misdemeanors or felonies, but even misdemeanors. The police would now be mandated to take DNA of everyone who's arrested and charged with a crime, creating a database of these criminals. So I'm not going to be biased on that one.
That's some scary stuff, though. That like DNA sampling stuff.
If they protect it.
Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter. What's a good misdemeanor?
A good
What's
misdemeanor?
A good misdemeanor?
What's a good misdemeanor?
Smoking weed.
No, weed is a felony.
Bruh.
Well, that depends on your location.
What is a good misdemeanor? That's a good question.
Like jaywalking?
Misdemeanors are like
jaywalking?
finable offenses.
Yeah, is that a
Running a
misdemeanor?
stop sign.
I think traffic can be considered misdemeanors. I'm gonna look this up.
Because when I think about it, I think most crimes are violent crimes. I think like what?
Yeah.
Say anything.
Yeah. So I mean, like a misdemeanor is just like a minor wrongdoing.
Yeah.
But it's
No, you're in the system.
it's like it's like theft, right? Like petty theft. So like if you're not robbing somebody like with gun, like because that's a violent crime, that's a felony if you rob them with like a deadly weapon. But if you just like
Also
pickpocket, right, or you steal something from the store
under a certain amount of dollars.
Yeah, petty theft and like disorderly conduct. Like if you're drunk in public, that's a misdemeanor. Trespassing, vandalism, that kind of thing. Sorry, I should have had that like more because I did know that stuff. I just didn't. It was.
No, it's okay.
I'm having a slow day.
I was trying to think of what like silly misdemeanors.
I ain't committing no crimes.
You're in the system.
Yeah.
I ain't committing no crimes. So I
DNA
ain't gotta worry
in the
about my
system.
DNA.
Brandon, I've said this before. I'll say it
criminals
again.
have to
Brandon is
worry.
an upstanding citizen.
Only criminals have to worry. Why do I have to worry about my internet search history? I never look up anything strange.
Yes, you do.
So Prop 21, Prop 21 has to do with rent control. So the bill basically says that should cities be allowed to enforce or try rent control policies? And there already are cities in California that do have their own rent control policies, such as Los Angeles. It started in 1979, LA. There was a massive like rental tenant like movement that I never heard about. But people fought for rent control. They made it happen in Los Angeles in the mid city. But it turns out that, just because they passed it in Los Angeles, the other surrounding cities still have their own laws. So cities like Santa Monica, West Hollywood.
Gotta love Santa Monica. Go Corsairs.
Nobody knows what. So Santa Monica, West Hollywood, and like Berkeley. These are some of the cities that really led like the tenant, unification. They formed like coalitions and like fought, like led a drastic fight. So much so that conservatives began to call Santa Monica the People's Republic of Santa Monica because I guess rent control is we're Maoist China now.
Yeah.
And this is the 80s, so Maoist China. Wait,
yeah.
Hold up. Am I wrong on that? Hold up. Anyway.
Mao, that was Mao. 80s, yeah. Mao.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about.
Good job, Brandon.
Then it was Xiaopan. I know what I'm fucking talking about. Yeah.
Knowledge.
The People's Republic of China.
China.
There's Prop 22, which has to do with, rent control. I mean, I think rent control is pretty good. Like, there's not much to say on it. Like,
well, that's Prop 21, though, right?
Of course we need rent control.
Because there is no Prop 22 this year.
Yeah, like,
they removed
before
it.
I leave rent control, like, rent control is necessary. So we don't have rapid inflation out of
And it
control.
also helps, I mean, people who don't live in cities, they have a hard time understanding, but there's a problem with, like, tenement buildings. So if they don't have rent control and they don't have things like that, you could, like, theoretically build a house that can fit multiple families, which is really bad for the community, so on and so forth. It's like there's like a whole string of issues that are connected to rent control. So it's like super important.
But then there's also something called vacancy decontrol. Vacancy decontrol is where they start to sell vacant apartments for cheaper. So that's also involved in rent control.
Yeah, and I think that's good too.
All good.
All good stuff.
Except for landlord developers. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but it's not a real job. like owning
I guess.
Like being a landlord is not a real job. You're just profiting off of like other people's struggle.
Off of generational wealth.
Yeah. That's a
not
hot
always.
take. That's
not
a hot
always.
take for me.
Yeah, not always. But Prop 22. We're going to get back to Prop 22 because it has to do with AB5, something that we're going to touch on in a second.
Oh, that's what it was?
Yeah, well,
I thought there wasn't a Prop 22.
No, there's Prop 22, but it's specifically about like the drivers.
Indeed.
Yeah, so it's like
We'll get back to
should
it.
they get their own amendment? And we'll get to the amendment thing because oh boy.
Oh boy.
Prop 23 has to do with kidney dialysis operations. There was a really, really famous John Oliver special on kidney dialysis where they showed, old like medical supplies laying around in these kidney dialysis offices, not having any physicians in the medical office, no licensed doctors, people just starting these because there's no regulations and it's an easy way to finesse money or even government like grants. So this law is just going to mandate that there has to be a doctor in the doctor's office.
On duty, too.
On duty.
Not just like a guy who signs papers at the end of the day.
Must be licensed, must be officiated and that kind of thing. And they must report any sort of contagious infections or that kind of thing to a state board. Just simple regulations. But I would really recommend watching that John Oliver video because
John Oliver is my hero.
Yeah.
I would like to be John Oliver when I grow up.
he does such a good job of making it hilarious, but also like, I can't believe they're really leaving these toxic supplies on the floor over there.
Yeah, well, it's like entertaining and shocking. That's like his whole shtick is to be entertaining and shocking.
Prop 24 has to do with data privacy. California has one of the strongest data privacy, laws in the state. And this proposition, did I say bill?
You said state.
What do I mean?
You said the state of California has one of the hard or whatever, and then and in the state is what you said, but
it does have some good stuff. But the person who wrote the last proposition that got passed, enforcing these new regulations, is doing it again. He led this one, and basically this new bill would give people the actual right, like I assume through their phone, there will be like a yes or no button, or like on websites, do you want cookies? We already see that.
I like how they call those cookies. Like it's not anything that's pleasurable.
He's got a cookie.
Oh, he's eating a cookie right now. You guys can't see it, but
So yeah, it'll allow people
I got a cookie.
allow people to stop businesses from using their exact location if they don't want to ever have a business have their location. But also, I think super important it will triple the fine on companies or persons that violate a child's privacy, which I believe has to do with this whole like YouTube scandal that happened this year
YouTube
with
kids.
YouTube kids having, these like random unregulated videos. Anybody could make anything and put it up there. And I mean, there was little kids falling down YouTube rabbit holes, leading them to like weird Elsa pranks where it was like murder and like other crazy stuff. So I just think that
YouTube rabbit holes, man.
I think it's important that we have a state agency to actually control these corporations because we don't have that yet. And this bill would work on creating that. So
Prop.
God, that freaking song.
Yeah.
It's that song.
Bill.
It's that song.
Yeah.
I hear it. I hear it still. Prop 25. Prop 25
At
is
the end of the long march.
Hey, we did it together. Prop 25 is another controversial bill because it ends cash bail in California. Did I say bill again? I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
In favor of a risk assessment system, an algorithm.
Algorithm.
A rabbit hole, as some would say. So a lot of people know that cash bail reinforces wealth inequality and poorer people who don't have, disposable income or, aren't ready to, pay a lawyer or something. These people will just plead guilty so they don't have to sit in jail or, they can get a plea deal. And basically cash bail is a system that forces people to succumb to the strength of the system. So I do believe that there needs to be some sort of balance between truly, I think it's speedy trials. My personal answer. Like, I don't think people should have to wait a year before their trial. Like, I understand that there's backup, but like that kind of thing. I think that a risk assessment system, what they're trying to do, where there's like a questionnaire and like a scale and like an automatic, like, you did this, your race is this, you make this, you have a home here you can go back to. It's are you a flight risk? I think having that be automatic and like through an inhuman system is almost even worse than a cash bail system, because even with cash bail, you can get a bail bond. You can,
You can put up your house and
you
stuff.
can raise funds. You can put up a house if you own a house. You know,
or your car, that kind of thing.
This proposition is a little weirder because it's, would you replace cash bail with this system? Because they have a system they've designed. So it's no more cash bail, this new system. Personally, my answer is I would rather have a third system. So there is that voting block for this proposition. So
Yeah, we'll see what happens, huh?
yeah, you can take it how you want. I know a lot of people are staunchly against cash bail, but I don't know if we should just jump into any new random system that could have the same exact faults.
Yeah, I don't trust algorithms any more than the next guy, so.
And we'll get back to algorithms, won't we?
Algorithm.
But that's it for the propositions. That's what you should expect to see on your ballot this year. There's 9, and you know it's just about knowing the wording, because they'll say, you know, vote yes if you don't want it, vote no if you do want it sometimes, and all of the numbers, and there's 9 bills. Maybe you don't have time to read through 9 bills. Maybe you don't have time to listen to this.
Prop.
Also, isn't it 11 bills?
There's
Props. You have me doing it now.
Holy smokes, folks.
I'm just going to bail out and pass it over to Peter on AB5.
These bills are props.
These props are bills.
So tell me more about this
AB5?
Yeah, because I know there's a lot.
Yeah, so it's like one of the most controversial things right now in California.
But what the F is it anyway?
Yeah, what is it?
That's what it says.
I wrote that down because I did research on this, as we do with all of our segments. There were like no clear answers.
Yeah.
The best answer that I could get was that what it does is it has these businesses answer a series of questions, 3 questions called the ABC test. And the questions are this. Is the person hired given extensive freedom in how they go about accomplishing the task?
Like deciding their route.
Yeah, deciding their route, deciding the way that they do it, the methodology, that kind of thing. Is the work performed done outside of the hiring company's normal business operations? They're kind of wordy, I'm sorry. So like, is it outside of what the business normally does? And then the last question is the person hired a member of an established business for the line of work that they are doing? So then these companies are like asked to answer these questions. They take this test, and if they find that the answer to all 3 questions is yes, then they can classify their workers as independent contractors, and they don't need to employ them, and you know, that kind of thing. But if even one of these questions is answered no by a business, they are required by this bill to hire them as employees, and then therefore they are subject to all of the rules and regulations surrounding employees and employers in law. So they, you know, have to provide certain benefits, they have to pay them a certain amount, the workers have to do a certain number of hours, that kind of thing. So let's use DoorDash as an example. So the first question, again, is the person hired given extensive freedom in how they go about accomplishing the task? The answer to that question is yes in the case of DoorDash, because they're, you know, they get to pick up the food, they get to pick the route on the way to the house, they get to, you know, show up, present it in a certain way. So yes, they are allowed to do that.
They
but
could not show up at all.
The last 2 questions, which are, is the work performed done outside of the hiring company's normal business operations? The answer to that is no, because DoorDash delivers food and these workers are delivering food. And then the third question, which is the person hired a member of an established business for the line of work that they are doing? And the answer to that question is also no, because they are not food delivery people. They just do that kind of work. Like they're not a part of that
They're
industry.
not cooks.
Yeah.
They're not hosts.
Yeah. They're not a part of the
Just because they're picking up
like
from McDonald's.
food industry. Yes.
They're not working in McDonald's.
So
But
by that, then DoorDash would fail the test and they would have to hire their workers to be employees. So that's basically what it is. It's a really complicated thing, though. There are tons of amendments on it that, exclude certain types of work, certain companies.
when you start to think about it, like a lot of, independent like contractors that we see today, solo workers, people who like, run their own Instagrams or whatever, like they don't know even how to answer these questions really. So,
Yeah.
like I'm yes, no, yes sometimes, no sometimes. So it's like, do these questions even work?
Yeah, and do they apply to the entire industry at large too? Like is it something that can be applied? So there's a lot of controversy around it, a lot of back and forth. Brandon's going to go into a little bit of the public reaction about like what people are feeling like on the ground about this particular piece of legislation.
Yeah. So polls show this was a poll done in December of 2019. 88% of independent contractors opposed the law. So
A huge majority there.
yeah, you never see 88%. That means that people know what this is and they're actively against it. In that 88%, there's a large percentage of people who are actively against this bill. 75% of people said that they preferred freelancing over a full-time job.
That is a number I did not expect.
Hey,
Honestly.
I'm on Instagram. I see y'all freelancers out there. I see you selling freaking hair cream.
Yeah.
I see you selling chips on Instagram. Okay, make your money. Make your money.
Make your money.
Like, don't let AB5 stop you. No, but 87% say that in regards to don't let AB5 stop you, 87% of people say that they do not trust the lawmakers to represent their best interests. And not only does that affect like this bill, but that's showing what the people feel about their institutions right now.
Yeah.
Because
A lot of distrust.
yeah, like when you're supporting, and this is when the conservatives come in with their home run. When you're supporting the Democrats and you're fighting hard and you love regulations, and then they come in with this regulation that really is hard to enforce and really is convoluted in some ways. I'm gonna get into some of the amendments that have been passed. What was I saying?
I don't remember.
Oh, conservatives.
Yeah, the conservatives home run.
They're saying that these regulations are stopping workers, and the workers that the Democrats, so they love them. These regulations are hurting Democrat workers. So they're using it as a political point that regulations are bad for the workers, and not that it's hitting, but it is a point, and it's really just annoying to see them run with it. So I think that we do need to like make this bill we need to either make it work or get rid of it. Truly.
Yeah.
Because when you see what's happening to photojournalists, musicians,
People with like independent like yoga clinics. I was reading a story about a yogi who was having a hard time classifying her instructors.
exactly. Because one class a week, 2 hours a week,
Yeah.
$100 a class. But also truck drivers who own their own company. And they it's almost like DoorDash, right? They pick up something for another company and they drive it and they drop it off for someone else. They don't own any of that stuff. It's these self-sufficient companies don't exactly fit under this workers' rights, employment versus independent contractor scenario because they they just don't fit into the guidelines that this regulation sets.
Yeah, it's so. I think the real problem with this legislation is that it's painting with a very, very broad brush. It's just like all of you companies answer these questions, and then like there's a lot of gray area in there that they're forgetting about. I think.
If I could like say the opposite thing that you just said, I would say that the questions are too strict, and most people don't even fit into the questions. It's like, sometimes Sometimes I'm always gigging at the same place. I might gig for the same place for a month, and I might tour and get $50 a night. You know, like, I don't work for anybody at all. I don't have a job, really. I just make money on the side, and it's enough money to live, you know? And
yeah,
it's being voted on in Prop 22, specifically about the drivers, saying whether they should be included, whether they should get their own amendment. So when you see musicians getting their own amendment, journalists getting their own amendment, the Truckers Association actually sued the state of California, stopping this bill in its tracks, which is why all these new amendments are happening. So Prop 22 is just offering another amendment to this bill. And I think we just need to amend.
Prop.
It's not even a prop. It's like
he was right that time, actually.
It's an assembly bill because it's the state assembly.
Because he said, so Prop 22 is
think I'm
adding
paying
an amendment to the assembly bill. Yeah. So I think he was right that time. I don't know. We'll have to play it back. Find out.
Just testing you.
Politics, am I right?
Am I right?
But there's also the Protecting the Rights to Organize Act, which was in the Senate, which is kind of the same family, of the same species as AB 5.
Right.
I think that this bill is a good idea. I truly do. But the problem with this act is that it's basically the same AB 5 pre-amendment, pre-lawsuit, pre-all of this conversation. So anything that happens going forward with the PRO Act, the Protecting the Right to Organize Act, it's going to need to go through all the same litigation as AB 5. So I really hope we can either find a way around that or fix AB 5 first. But
yeah,
what I got.
That's good. Yeah, so we did a lot on the legislation in California and what's kind of going on with that, the propositions, what we're going to be seeing in the election. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about like the disaster that we're watching here in California and in a lot of the other Western states. So I know that we talked about wildfires a little bit a couple weeks ago. What I'm going to do with this one is just instead of talking about the specific fires, talk about some of the things that are happening around the fires and like news stories around that. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was the firefighters, because those are the guys out there. They're fighting the war on the front line against an inferno. Man, we're gonna play some clips and you'll see like how bad some of these fires are. So in this Associated Press article, they interviewed a fireman, a battalion chief by the name of Justin Silvera. And he said that he worked 20 days straight fighting fires, had a 3-day break, and then came back for a 36-day straight shift of battling.
Since July?
In an inferno. No, this was recent. So this was like September. That's
60 days.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? That's how long that they're out there like
Golly.
It's gnarly. He says that he's been at this for 23 years.
Damn.
And by far, this is the worst fire season I've seen.
Damn.
So the firemen are really overworked right now, and this has a couple of reasons to it. One of the reasons being that that the workload had increased is because the pandemic is inhibiting the inmate workforce that normally helps fight these fires here in California. But because of the pandemic and the effect that the pandemic is having on prisons, because the prisons are just hotbeds for the disease right now, they're not able to get these guys to come out and support the firefighters who are not inmates. In response to this, Gavin Newsom declared that they will be hiring 858 new seasonal firefighters and 6 new conservation corps teams to backfill the loss of dozens of inmate fire crews, which have been placed on lockdown due to the rapid spread of COVID-19 in the state prisons. So hopefully the dire situation that the firefighters are in is going to change.
Doesn't the Gavin Newsom proposition?
What?
Doesn't the Gavin Newsom proposition, doesn't that also allow inmates to have a route to becoming actual firefighters?
I didn't read that, but quite possibly.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So that would be great because that's one of the main things that I have personally against inmates doing that kind of work. Number one, they get paid very little for, life-threatening work, like very dangerous work.
The same amount of work that other fireman did.
Oh, for sure. And then the second thing is that when they get out of prison, they're not allowed to become firefighters. And I think that's a problem. Like, you want these people to rehabilitate. You're giving them experience in the field. They should then be able to go on and become firefighters when they get out of prison. Yeah. Because that's the whole point, supposedly, is to rehabilitate and to give you a job that you will work so that you are not forced into the same cycle of violence and crime and other such things that you have been.
Re-education camps.
That's not what I said.
No, but what's better rehabilitation than, saving your community?
Yeah. Serving a purpose.
Serving that purpose.
Yeah.
Actually getting paid.
So yeah, that's what's going on with the firefighters. I just wanted to mention in an aside here that the West Coast fire smoke has reached Europe.
Yeah, I heard it was visible.
So it went around, all the way over the U.S., over the Atlantic Ocean, and is now hitting Europe. Yeah. That's insane. I mean, how big this fire season is.
Millions of acres, bro.
Yeah.
The jet stream.
Yeah.
Millions. Almost 5 million in the entire West Coast, I think, right?
It's a massive number. It's insane what's happening. And I mean, we're going to show the map of the fires later. And they have some numbers on there of this one's 839,000 acres. This one's 367,000 acres. And it's to conceptualize that it's incredible. So I wanted to move from that to talk about a meeting that Governor Newsom had with the Donald regarding the fires. So he was on a trip to California doing some campaign stuff. He met with the National Guard, did a couple things like that. During this trip, he met with Newsom and some California officials, wildlife officials and that kind of thing, to discuss what is happening with the wildfires and such. And we're gonna play a clip here. This is a short clip of just the type of response that these officials and that the governor had from the president. Go ahead.
Did somebody say disaster?
So Wade and Tom, please.
Yeah, well, from our perspective, there is amazing partnership on the ground, and there needs to be. As the governor said, we've had temperatures explode this summer. You may have learned that we broke a world record in the Death Valley, 130 degrees. But even in greater LA, 120 plus degrees. And we're seeing this warming trend make our summers warmer, but also our winters warmer as well. So I think one area of mutual agreement and priority is vegetation management.
We got to rake the floors,
rake the
floors.
They give them a little something.
And what it means to our forests, and actually work together with that science. That science is going to be key. Because if we ignore that science and put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
Okay, it'll start getting cooler.
What?
You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Okay.
Hey, well, I don't think science knows actually. Tom, please.
Mr.
President.
Rewind. Yeah, just put it back 15 seconds.
But I think and actually work together with that science.
I've been wanting to see the continuation of this.
If we ignore that science and sort of put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
Okay. It'll start getting cooler.
It'll start.
You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Hey, well,
is that Newsom laughing?
Knows actually. Tom, please.
Mr. President,
what's funny about that?
I think Newsom is because it's just absurd.
What is Trump laughing at?
It's absurd.
He's not he said it'll get cooler.
He's like, nah, G, I got the AC.
It's gonna get cooler.
What?
Yeah. So let's do some fact checking on the Donald here. Scientists say wildfires are all but inevitable, and the main drivers are plants and trees drying out due to climate change. and more people are living closer to areas that burn. So while like forest thinning and like, rake the floors and like, controlled burns, all of those things are good ideas and they will help fight fires. It is only, it's not even a quarter of the problem. The problem is that we're getting hotter summers and in turn hotter winters and,
a drier year.
Yeah, a drier year in general. We are an arid zone. And so I also want to mention that like forest thinning and controlled burns, like they're good solutions, but it's like challenging to implement that on a scale that is like needed to combat the level of the threat that this is. Like you can't, like, what are you going to do? You're going to hire 1 million people to walk through the forest and pick up the dry, like dead plants and leaves and stuff. Like, I don't.
But also like my house is still next to the forest. Like, this town still is 5 minutes away from the national forest or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's still at risk no matter how clean the ground is.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think Trump has ever walked through a real forest.
I don't know
He doesn't have any like conceptualism for like how big.
Yeah, except for on
is.
like a tour or something,
Yeah. Like how much tree there just is. There's not enough rakes.
No.
In the state of California.
He's probably never.
There's not enough rakes in the world.
Exactly.
There's
not enough willing participants to go
like,
around and do that on that scale in the wilderness where there are bears and other things.
Has he been in the forest before? Most of that stuff is dead.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of it.
Well, so I know that like there's that famous clip of him standing in the the aftermath of the Paradise fire. But yeah, I don't think that
pleasure.
It's pleasure.
Okay, we can't reference that anymore on this podcast.
That was the last
3
one.
times in the 3 episodes.
But yeah, so I'm going to go over a couple more of the claims because he unleashed a Twitter tweet storm after this particular meeting with Mr. Newsom and the California officials. Here's one of them. This is the Trump claim. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has done a terrible job of forest management. I told him the first day we met, he must clean, and that's in quotations, his forest floors, regardless of what his bosses, the environmentalists, demand of him. Must also do burns and cut fire stoppers. Okay, so here are the facts. Trump is sidestepping responsibility here. Of the 33 million acres that were burnt, of the 33 million acres of forest land in California, 57% is owned and managed by the federal government. That's
National
his purview.
Forest.
40% is private landowners, and only 3% of the 33 million acres is managed by the state.
Yeah. I mean, how many national forests do we have? Cleveland, Sierra, San Bernardino.
Angeles,
Angeles.
Yeah, it's a bunch of national forests. So he's sidestepping responsibility. And this is according to Newsom's office, the Forest Unlimited, and the University of California's Forest Research and Outreach.
Trump is just so funny
Center.
because it's when he gets his little man ego hurt. Like, that's what it is. He's like,
My head's in the sand.
I said something dumb in person. Now I'm going to go home and tweet about it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, big alpha. Okay, alpha man. Loser.
And here's another one. Also, open up the ridiculously closed water lanes coming down from the north. Don't pour it out into the Pacific Ocean. Should be done immediately. California desperately needs water, and you can have it now.
Excuse me, what is he talking about?
Yeah, the facts. Trump's point is irrelevant to battling wildfires unless he plans on using that water to build a federally funded statewide sprinkler system. The water will not be useful. The problem in California isn't related to a lack of water when it comes to these fires. Like,
by closed water lanes, is he talking about like floodgates?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah. There's actually a huge controversy about the water in the big, because like the southern part of California has been in a drought for a really long time, and so there is credence to what he's saying, but it has nothing to do with the wildfires. Like nothing to do with the wildfires. So he's just spewing nonsense as he normally does. And I just wanted to get that in there. I think we're going to have a routine subject, at least for as long as Trump is president, where we just fact check him.
Fact check the Donald.
Fact check the Donald. It's going to become a segment.
It's really easy, actually.
Yeah, I mean, because you could just look up, is he right? And like, no. So, yeah. So from that, I wanted to talk about like what the actual problem is here. So it's not forest thinning. What it is number one, the climate. Scientists almost unanimously agree that hot climates are creating a perfect scenario for larger fires. Hotter weather makes vegetation drier. Then a simple spark can set a multi-thousand acre fire. And there is record heat numbers in California, as the guy said in the video.
It's crazy.
So the climate like has an effect, and it's drying out this vegetation, which is then leading to these fires. Another part of the problem, of course, is people. Even if the conditions are right for a fire, you still need like a spark, right? You still need a lightning strike or something to happen for a fire to light and take off. People have been detrimental in this regard, as you can well imagine. The specific example in this case, of course, is that very famous issue now of the fire that's happening in the Angeles National Forest. There's only 16% contained. It was started by a gender reveal party, and that went viral. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but
did you know that was the second time that a gender reveal party has started a wildfire?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Jeez.
There's a video of the other one. I should have put it up. I should have sent it, but there's a literal like video of it.
Yeah. Also, of course, there's an increase of people who are moving into areas and living in what is called the urban wildland interface area. So that is an area where there are houses and there's urban area, but mostly it's like wildlands and forest and dry vegetation and such. These areas tend to burn more often than any other area. So the area where there is wildland and urban interface happening, they tend to burn more often, and I can imagine why. It's people. Another part of the problem is... Oh, you got something?
Well, I was just going to say, you might think of, a little small town in a national forest, but even like a Beverly Hills can be considered surrounded
Malibu.
by wildlands.
Malibu, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Even, I mean, in some parts of Oceanside, when you're closer to the base...
Oh, yeah, right where I don't live?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of vegetation over there that, you could go out. There's, like, wilderness out there that you can go out into.
Yeah, it almost happened last year.
Yeah,
it could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, we've had severe fires in this area, and we have a lot of dry land, a lot of vegetation here. So, and a lot of areas that are like considered parks, right? Calavera, things like that. Another part of the problem, while it seems like counterintuitive, is fire suppression.
It's bad.
Yeah, so you would think that would help stop fires, but a long history of it, so many years of fire suppression has led to more dangerous conditions. Like fires are destructive and deadly, of course, nobody is arguing that, but they are actually a natural course of events, especially in forests that, get super dry. They're almost supposed to burn because it restarts their life cycle. More vegetation comes in after. It's like a part of the natural course of these forests and these dry lands. Because it was naturally supposed to burn.
Yeah, things burn.
Yeah. Things were burning long before we started making them burn,
Yeah.
So human suppression has led to areas that should have been burned years ago being protected, which then makes them more dangerous for fires in the future. Because then a fire that started like over here, and then there's this protected area, right? And then it just boom,
this
it'll
area
shoot
that's
through
been
it.
getting even drier over time.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is part of the problem.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to mention here that native people that lived in these territories, before all of the terrible things that happened, would do controlled burns. And California officials are looking to that as a possible solution for these major fires that are happening. Just doing a small controlled burn through the area so that there's, not a lot of pickup ability. The fourth and final problem is Santa Ana winds. So essentially, the back half of this fire season is yet to come, and each fall, we know here in California that there are these strong gusts that come from the Great Basin area. and they shoot west into, Southern California. And these winds, they create, dangerous gusts that, create conditions for fires. We haven't seen them yet this fall. We saw them in June a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're expecting them in October. So that will have more of an effect on.
It's a strange phenomenon, honestly. Like California is this huge valley, like the basin.
Yeah, the Great Basin. And it just shoots out this wind, this hot desert wind.
Gathers up speed, and it doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, bouncing off the mountains. So.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. I'm not originally from here, so I'm like, whoa, y'all got basin winds? Whoa.
Yeah, we got all sorts of weird stuff, man.
Also,
El Nino,
Also, I learned that the Great Basin is, ripe for flooding.
Yes.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it just hasn't. There's not enough rain out there right now, but it could theoretically the whole thing could theoretically flood.
Yeah, I heard this, fear story about how, 1 year California rained so much that this all flooded and like it's unlivable at a certain point. But it would need a month straight of rain. That's what happened.
Yeah, and the way the climate's going is not going to happen.
That's prehistoric history right there, Brandon.
Yeah,
it's prehistoric California.
So yeah, there's still a lot of the fire season ahead of us, and we're gonna report more on it in the first bite or in any way that we can as it progresses. But yeah, that's all I had to say really on the wildfires. Didn't want to go too particular. I wanted to show some clips and some pictures of what's going on. So this is a guy who's driving through the Hennessy fire in Northern California, August 18th. I mean, it's a hellscape.
Oh my God.
It looks like they're driving into the gates of hell.
What do you do?
You just keep going. If the road's blocked, you're in trouble. You just got to keep going. Get through it. Get to the other side. I mean, look at that on the side. Those are huge flames, man.
Driving into the freaking.
Yeah, and he's following a police officer through this.
Got a walkie.
Yeah.
That's nice. Man, that's like his home, though. He's probably driven down that road before.
Yeah, this fire was real bad. I think it's pretty much contained at this point, but real bad.
August 18th. Okay.
Yeah. You could show one of the other clips, Jack Tunney.
Just. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, hey, we're back.
Hey.
Look how cute we are.
Watching. He pulled it down. I like.
You could
that.
show some of the images. Do some of the images. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine if you click through.
Yeah. Just click through. Yeah. Look at that.
Full screen that.
I
think you can right click open image.
Oh, now we're on AccuWeather.
But that is it's I don't even know, dude. Is
Yeah.
that real?
No, that's real. That's no filter at all.
Got this hero standing.
Yeah,
up against
fighting the
flame.
fire. My God.
He's probably been there 12 days straight.
Yeah.
Like we found out earlier,
Click that one there. Yeah. Look at that. It's like a line, dude, and it's just progressing towards them.
Yeah. Seeing the line as it just moves.
Yeah.
It's one flame.
Yeah. And look at that huge one in the back there too. You see that? Yeah. Oh my God. That's like a 10-foot flame right there.
At least.
Let's get one or two more, huh?
Yeah.
I saw the one with the cow.
Oh. Look at the size of it.
Ooh, bro. Dude, no way.
Oh my God. Compared to the trees, that flame
I don't
is
think that's
huge.
A tree. That's not a tree that's on fire in the middle. On the cursor. That's just straight flame.
Yeah.
What?
See if there's another clip that did I put another clip?
I don't.
The drone video?
Oh yeah, the drone video.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go for it.
So this is aftermath of a fire that has rolled through an Oregon city.
That's the red fire suppressant, right?
Yeah, that's fire retardant. Yeah. I mean, cars burnt out. These used to be houses. These were now down to the foundation.
someone's like entire like people's probably lived there their entire like lives. Like
Yeah, I mean whole neighborhoods, bro.
parents,
Whole cities
grandparents.
have succumbed to these fires.
Yeah, in Oregon, I heard that like 5 towns were completely destroyed. Just ash, bro.
Yeah, nothing left. Nothing left whatsoever.
It's like snapped.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a nuclear bomb went off. So that house was obviously that's actually apartment complex was saved by the fire retardant.
Oh wow, yeah, that's interesting. Literally right next to
Yeah, I mean that's a school right there.
It's like you can't just rebuild this. What do you do?
No.
You just leave this.
Yeah, it's probably just gonna be a ghost town now, man. So like these were protected buildings. The firefighters set up a line here and protected these buildings. But that's probably enough, Jack. That you can shoot it back. But yeah, that gives you kind of an understanding of like how intense these fires are and how much damage they can do if they're not well, if we don't prepare well, if we don't fight them well, if we don't do the correct things in order to stop them from happening. And part of that is going to be fighting climate change.
Yeah.
Which is why you should.
Here he goes.
Vote for Joe Biden.
I mean, even the fire suppressor, like, it was all over the street. It was all over it was all over, but
Yeah.
obviously the entire town still had to go. Like,
Yeah.
so it's not that, oh, we just pour more water on it. Oh, we'll just buy more fire suppressant. Oh, we'll just hire more firefighters.
Could you show the map of the incidents, Jack Tunney?
Yeah, but could I go back and roll this few seconds?
Yes.
That we missed? It's actually a really good shot.
Okay, yeah, do it.
That was the
And then go to the incidents just so people have an idea of how many fires there are. Wow.
Everything else. Oh, yeah. Wow. The fire went right up against.
I wonder why did they
everything else.
protected those buildings in particular, but
I think they wanted to just try. Like,
yeah,
what else
try
do you
save
do?
anything, save anything. Yeah,
Save the playground. Maybe we can, if we could do anything, keep the school ground.
yeah.
Like,
You got to do what you
Sheesh.
can. And these firefighters, man,
Sheesh.
they're extremely brave and cool. Oh, here we go.
boom,
So this is what the West Coast looks like right now.
man.
You can see fires up and down the coast.
Oh my God, dude.
All over there. I mean, click on the August complex, if you will. Yeah,
yeah,
so
that's
you
the
can
exact one I was gonna point
see
out, too.
how widespread the damage is there. That red area is burnt area.
839,000 acres.
Yeah. Only 30% contained as of 1:52 p.m. today.
30.
And it's
30%.
moving. It's moving into the valley. It's moving towards like there's cities over there and stuff. So
To the right or to the left?
it's moving into the valley to the right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to like compare the size of that red zone to the San Francisco Bay. Because even on the zoom out version, those are the dude, look at that. It's bigger than the San Francisco Bay.
Yeah, it's bigger than the San Francisco Bay. Yeah,
Oh
that
my
yeah.
God.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're dealing with these fires and they're all over the West Coast. It's not just California. Oregon is having a really tough problem. That clip that we saw of the aerial footage, that was in Oregon City. Utah, Nevada, they're all having a really hard time with fires right now.
This fire we're looking at right here is the dry lightning fire that happened. Climate change has gotten so crazy. We're having rainstorms with no rain.
Yeah, just lightning storms.
Just lightning storms.
And look how close that is to I mean, that's
Population centers.
yeah, San Jose is right there. It's right there.
I mean, like once it starts catching houses, like I mean, what do you like?
Go to the Angeles National just zoom out and find it. I don't know if it'll be on the top.
I think isn't it called like
Just pan down a little bit. There, yeah, it's that red spot right next to Los Angeles. Yeah.
dude, it's fucking creeping up.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, and
There's
that
nothing left to burn right there, dude.
Yeah, that's like right up to the city limits there. Arcadia's right there. Pasadena.
Arcadia.
Um,
These are American cities.
yeah,
This is Trump's America.
this is Trump's America. And that's
Wait,
that right
wait,
there is a
is this
national
Trump's
forest.
America?
That's a national forest too. So that's federal responsibility, federally managed and owned. And it's making conditions really bad in California. We had a lot of really smoky days. Like I would go outside and it looked like literally apocalyptic. We had a red moon. The sun was red when it was setting, and
That's the Hennessy
really
fire.
scary stuff. Yeah, that's the fire that we saw a guy driving through. What containment does it say on that? Jack Tunney, click on it again. The Hennessy fire.
Yeah, I don't know which one it is. It was like
This is the LNU lightning complex.
Yeah, that's
Or the
Hennessy.
yeah, those are some of the
It
older
says-
ones,
It says
but
98.
98% contained. Good. So that one's dying out. But yeah, I mean, you could just see the damage done by that. That's a huge area.
damage already done. Black and ash. And
Yeah.
dead wood and
It's
There's always
crazy.
There's always these interesting outcroppings that happen to the left.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to show you guys some of those images. I think it's important to see it.
this map is insane.
Ju-
and it updates
Yeah, every day.
by
Every
the
day it
hour.
updates.
Some of them by the hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean that pretty much wraps up our sandwich. We hope it was a good one. I know that there was a lot of long legislative stuff in it, and not the most.
This one right here is literally, I think, where
Oh my
Ben and I went.
Oh, that's where we were.
It is.
This is where we went camping.
Yeah, so we went
very
camping a
recently.
few weeks back. That is right in the area that we were camping.
Actually, that's Shaver Lake, bro.
Yeah.
That's
No,
it's-
but we were like north of that.
We were
just
up in
like,
there.
Yeah, we were like a little bit
Let
north of
me
that.
Get a little
Oh,
closer
dude, are we
here.
gonna go and find it?
That is
Look,
Shaver
yeah,
Lake right here.
Shaver Lake.
You're
See,
right.
I wasn't there at Shaver Lake, but they were.
Yeah.
And
I was there.
But we were up in
Absolutely
the
beautiful.
yeah, we were like up in here, right?
well, there's Yosemite Forks. We were.
We were in there. We were up in here.
We were up here.
Yeah. So I mean, we were like right there weeks ago.
We were about along this creek, I think.
Yeah.
It's not right. I mean, like what? Like
That's a beautiful forest out there too.
beautiful
man.
land,
Hundreds of years
untouched.
old. Oh,
So peaceful. Like when you go there, people are just so like loving and at peace and like
yeah.
enjoying themselves and just like separated from the chaos of the world and
The chaos of the world
I
caught
mean,
up.
just knowing that people were having a peaceful vacation and then all of a sudden you
Oh
had to
yeah, that
evacuate.
yeah, the 100, like the group of 100 or whatever that was in that hunter's lodge. They had to
Yeah,
get
but
them
I
out.
mean other people too who didn't
Yeah.
get picked up. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean
But yeah, that's the sandwich. California. It's a crazy place. It's a lovely place, and it's lots of stuff happens in it. So we'll be doing some updates on those stories, on the propositions, on AB5, on the fires. You'll see more of them down the line. But let's get into
the much needed.
the much needed milk.
I needed it.
Milk.
I needed it.
So what's up, Brandon? You got some stuff that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Well, Bob Woodward, the man, the myth, the legend, he's been in the news a lot. So my mom mostly had really been wanting to show me All the President's Men, a classic movie, a classic book that was turned into a movie about the Nixon scandal and how Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein led the investigative mission, I guess, to uncover what was really happening in the White House. Basically what they,
What did the president know, and when did he know it? Those are the questions that they asked. And we are asking the same questions today.
yeah. I think most people know what Watergate is. I don't really feel like, describing that, but I want to talk about some things that I really just found interesting in the movie compared to today. And first off, it's really interesting watching a movie made in the 70s. And today we're watching it like, whoa, they're using notepads. They're using the rotary phones. And I mean, the movie wasn't made to do that. But it's crazy watching these journalists with no cell phones, no Instagram, no that kind of thing, literally driving around, finding address on a map, chasing people down by names and phone numbers. Like they didn't have the freedom of information that we have today. that makes it so easy to just record Trump on a phone call and just post it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it was crazy because they started to post or, publish information that they had been starting to find about how just weird and scandalous the Watergate break-in was. And the newspaper was like dying. Like it was risky for them to post that stuff because people weren't ready to just be like, oh, Nixon's a criminal. We know that now.
Well, he was well loved. He
was
was very well loved.
They
Nixon
liked
was
Dick.
very well loved. Yeah, they liked Dick. We like Dick.
There was a lot of like in the streets interviews, and a lot of people were just like, they would ask them about it. They're just like, yeah, I don't think he did it.
I don't think he did it.
He probably
Yeah.
was just getting framed,
Well, something
Yeah.
they said in the movie is that most people didn't even know what Watergate was. So
Exactly.
They're trying to blow up this incredibly crazy scandal where the president is directing his operatives, the financial office, to give money to people to break into the Democratic headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is one of the highest crimes that I can imagine. Like, and the fact that you have to convince people to get interested in, that's one of it. But also, you have to get.
We have to convince people now, though, right? Like with the whole Russian interference in the election, and the Donald and now this
COVID.
COVID-19 stuff.
The same
too.
guy.
Yeah, the same guy. We're like, we're having to convince people that he was negligent.
Yeah.
When to some of us it's like obvious.
Yeah.
But
And we have proof.
but some of that comes into the second part of what I think you're going to talk about, which is the social dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
we got social dilemmas in our milk.
Well, it's a
it's
documentary.
a documentary.
Yeah.
The
Oh, okay.
documentary is really dank, honestly. It came out a few weeks ago, really recently.
On Netflix, right?
It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix, documentary. The social dilemma is really, really insane. Most people probably know some of the basics of corporate control over these social media and how Facebook uses your information without you knowing. But the thing about this documentary that makes it stand out is that you're literally hearing from, for example, the head of marketing, the head of monetization from Facebook, people who designed features that lead our lives, like when you swipe up and it refreshes.
The infinite scroll.
They break these, designs down and show you why they're bad for your brain, and
that we've been hijacked, basically. Like our brain has been hijacked to feed a money machine of advertising.
Yeah.
And we do it willfully all the time. Like, I mean, even before we started the show, I was like on Instagram, I was checking stuff out, and like,
it's not even like it's willful. It's like it's one of our only options. Like, another thing that they covered in the documentary is like, people need to feel social. People need to feel connected to the outer world.
Feel liked.
So if you have a phone in your hand and you're bored, you're lonely, you're kind of sad, you've got like a happy button in your hand, in your pocket. You've always got this dopamine potential.
Right.
It's not that it always provides, it's that it's the potential.
Yeah.
It's like almost playing like poker with your brain.
That's what they said, like slot machines.
Yeah.
Like that they compared it to slot machines, that every time you pick up your phone, you like basically roll the slots and you could get, you could get the jackpot, and maybe you get a Tinder match or something, right?
Yeah.
Or you
likes.
You get some likes, you get like a DM from someone, that kind of thing. So and they do that with your brain, and then they profit off of that with advertisement and figuring out what kind of data you like to watch.
What keeps you.
But to connect it to what you were talking about earlier, it's also that we are in these echo chambers, in these bubbles on social media that make us feel like, well, it's obvious. Everyone in the world should know this. But the reality is that we're not being fed the same information. We're being fed very different information. Even me and Brandon, right? And we're, similar politically. We're similar areas of people, like we're like locally, in the same area, but we're still getting fed different stories, different realities.
The echo chambers feed into themselves.
Yes.
So if I'm looking up leftist news, I'm going to find more and more and more and more until I'm watching like the most radical. And I've usually most people do keep like a spectrum of content, but like just the fact that the algorithm has a tendency to push you towards more radical content, it's one of the guys says it's not intentional, but it's just what happens because it feeds into itself.
Yeah. More and more extreme, more and more, yeah.
And it's like we live in a world already decided by robots. And I want to talk about that more.
Yeah, I think we're going to do a whole segment on that in the coming weeks. We're going to talk about social media and algorithms and all that stuff. So,
give me your clothes and your boots.
So, in our next milk section, we're going to talk about Joe Rogan.
Did you hear what he did? You see what he did? He was like, "Yo, I'm a dude. I like beer. I like boxing. I like fear. I like Fear Factor. I like my life. I got this new Texas studio. I'm just chilling. I got the new Spotify deal."
Uh-huh.
The height of privilege.
Yes.
They're just like shooting the shit, really. But,
so that on the podcast, he had a guy on the podcast, and they were, shooting the shit, as you say. And the guest brought up the possibility of a 4-hour debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, moderated by Joe Rogan, and honestly, I'm down.
Yeah, I'm not down. But
it's gonna be. It would be way better than these corporate media organizations asking these soundbite questions. It would be way better.
No, it would be so enjoyable. Like, it'd be enjoyable. It wouldn't be like amazing information, of course.
Yeah.
But it would be like, look, who is Joe? Like, Joe Rogan doesn't know how to moderate a debate. Like, Donald Trump would take that mic and run with it. And it would be uncontrollable and it'd be nasty. Like, and we need to see it.
Yeah, I would like to see it.
I think we need to see them in uncontrolled environments where it's not, okay, you got one question, 1 minute to answer, and if you talk longer than that, I'll cut you off.
That's not a real way to promote your policy, to promote your plans. No. And in fact, it probably plays into Donald.
It's a cover.
It plays into the way that Donald does things.
Sure.
He's just, he's like, he says some stuff and he moves on.
Yeah.
And it's flippant, and it's like, this is what I think. And it's not.
Fill up the soundbite with nonsense.
Yes.
And you'll have the soundbite, and it'll be ineffective, and Donald Trump can keep going on like nothing happened,
Yes.
It doesn't, it goes right off. So I think the good thing about that kind of idea, who knows if it will actually happen. Like, I don't think Biden would, I don't
think he would be down.
The fact that Donald Trump said yes, though, and like, the powers that be, come on, give us something, please.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be Joe Rogan either, but I would like to see a debate that is not by this like corporate media standard soundbite.
No commercials.
Bullshit. Yeah, just give it to me.
Just
let me see these two men for who they are. Yeah, exactly. That's the way that I would like to see it, and that's the way that debates should be done.
They will never, ever, ever let us see them for who they really are.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Along that, Donald and Joe Biden, I think it was important to mention at the end of this that shamans in Peru have predicted the outcome of the 2020 election.
Oh, let me light some candles.
They did their ceremonies, and they you don't have to play the clip.
Oh my.
Yeah. So they have okay, so we're in the clip now. But they got the big stove blowing the conch. He's blowing the conch, and they're gonna set it. They're gonna set up. They got pictures of world leaders out here.
Serious.
They're deciding the elections. They're figuring out what's gonna happen.
Different elections.
There's
I see
Putin
Trump
up
on the
there.
left.
The Peruvian leader, I forget his name. You got Maduro up there. You got all sorts of people up there, and they're deciding this. But yeah, you could stop it now. But yeah, so they predicted it,
dude. What?
And I can tell you with certainty.
Wow.
That Donald Trump was predicted a victory, but a different group of shamans did the same ceremony and found
competing shamans that
Joe Biden would win the 2020 election. So basically, we were at where we were before. We don't know.
Literally. We need a third opinion.
We need a third. Yeah.
I need a third shaman group.
Yeah.
Well, we're calling all shaman groups.
Hit us up. Let us know what you think.
Follow us at PB&J Podcast SD.
YouTube.
else
But
we
yeah,
got
that
going on?
that wraps up our milk, and therefore that wraps up our show. We hope you guys enjoyed. I'd like to say thanks to my brother David Whitehead for editing, of course, and to Jack Tunney, the beautiful man and voice behind the camera, for producing.
You're welcome.
Yes.
And to Jerry Perez and SitRep Media for supporting our little pet project that
All
we
that
do
they
here
do.
every week. And as always,
Thank
to
you to
you,
the
the viewers.
for sticking through.
Sticking through. This was not as interesting as some of our other ones have been,
It's
but we hope that
important,
you
though.
found important information in this.
I want our videos to be resources,
Yes.
You don't have to watch it all the time, but when you're ready to find out what's going on with the propositions, you know
Yeah.
where to go.
Exactly. So thank you for just taking the time to be with us each week. We love you, and you're why we keep doing this every week. I mean, it's not easy. Like we have to do all this research. We have lives outside of this thing. We got school, and we got all sorts of things going on. It's good to have the feedback that we have from you guys, and we do love you. And I'd like to thank my co-host Brandon for being here
I want to thank
with
Peter.
me always.
Yeah.
Doing everything and coming to meetings in the middle of the night.
Oh.
And just figuring stuff out together. So we
But
appreciate
none of this
you.
would be possible without Peter, of course.
Late night rendezvous.
Late night
Late
rendezvous.
All right.
But yeah, thank you for watching. We really mean that, and we will see you next week.